Welcome, everyone, to the Neurodivergent Creators Collective December workshop. This month is super special because I get to share one of my good friends with you, Mr. Nic Novicki. You have seen him on Boardwalk Empire, The Good Doctor. You have heard him in Spider-Man. Why do I always forget that? Across the Spider-Verse, where Nic voiced the Lego Spider-Man. He is also a stand-up comedian, uh, the director and founder of the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge, and he's dad to two young girls. So, Nic, welcome.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me. And
Oh,
yeah, this is great to be here.
yes, we are thrilled to have you here. And for our members that don't know about your stand up work, which you've been doing pretty much all of your life, um,
Pretty much.
yeah, if you can't really tell on Zoom, but Nic is a little person. And that means his life has been a lot different from most of us. And just like the rest of us, he had to work summer jobs. And my favorite story at the moment is about when Nic was a lifeguard. And
Yes.
I'm going to let him tell you about that.
Well, thanks so much. And it is great to be here. By the way, I got to give a huge shout out to you because I think you're such a talented actor,
Oh,
both voice acting and on-camera acting, and just a great person. So this is so fun to have this discussion. But yeah, so I'm Nic Novicki, little person wearing a blue shirt. And aside from my career as an actor comedian, being the founder and director of the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge, I also love to swim. I'm a big swimmer, and that was a big part of my childhood. I was a competitive swimmer. And then I became a lifeguard. And that was a great job, except for the fact that I felt like people didn't trust me. Like I was like, man, I'm a good swimmer, but I just feel like people don't trust me. Like one time I was lifeguarding and this mom drops her kid off, and then she just stood in the corner as if she was lifeguarding me, lifeguarding her kid. So I went up to her. I was like, "Excuse me, ma'am, I'm starting to get the feeling that you don't think I could protect your son just because I'm little. So I want to let you know I also have attention deficit disorder. So if anything happens to your son, it wasn't because I physically couldn't protect him. It was because I just wasn't paying attention. Welcome to the team."
and that's how we get through life. We find these wonderful things to laugh about because humans are endlessly funny.
Yes, I agree. Life is funny. That's the material. That's my everything in my life as a comedian has really been I am going to just have fun with every situation. If I can't reach something, this is an opportunity for a funny story. If I'm trapped somewhere, that's just kind of been my identity throughout my life has been let's joke about it, let's talk about it. I'm not going to be a victim of this circumstance. I'd rather kind of play around with it.
Absolutely. And in all the time that Nic and I have been friends, this dude is always smiling and always reaching out and connecting with people. And that's really important in this industry. If you're working film or comedy or uh, just trying to get through life, Nic is one of those people that can make those connections and he makes it look easy, even though he is little, even though he does have ADHD. So, Nic, could you tell our members kind of how you developed this awesome attitude and this friendly approach that puts people at ease?
I think I've been lucky. My parents were a huge support system. My mom was there with me even like my first day of school. She came to school with me. She actually passed out pamphlets to all the kids. She's like, here you go. This is my son. He's a little person. Read the pamphlets. You know, like
Right.
she was that way. But then I think also it was just me kind of finding myself, and I do have to put it out there that I feel lucky that my, I guess, identity in my perspective on life has been there since the beginning of who cares? You know, I want to play, basketball, even if I can't run or walk. I'm gonna, get in there and just throw me out there and let me fail. A kind of uh, desire to live to the fullest and just kind of be out there and uh, I guess being open to failing and also open to being in situations that are uncomfortable. And I think also a part of that uh, was also growing up in the Northeast. I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut. I'm 43 now too, so it's a very different time. But at that time, the East Coast was very. I'm not gonna just think what I want to, say. I'm saying it. So I would grow up in a world where people would say all kinds of stuff about me. So early on, I was like, well, this is how it is. So, let's just. I'm either gonna be upset by this or, I'm not. And I think that was the way I kind of found my life, and I found comedy was sort of in some ways a defense mechanism for me. In a sense, it was me almost kind of like being like a turtle, like being able to kind of either shell or even more so being able to just push out of a situation. If someone was going to say something crazy, I was always good at sort of dancing out and making a joke, and a lot of times a joke on the situation versus a joke right back at that person. So that has always been, I'm a good kind of like deflector of energy. Yeah. I'm not always the one that's been the, best athlete or the best, in a lot of areas. I'm a connector, I guess. And I like to, I'll stay in the ring, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. So, all of these early life experiences and figuring out who Nic Novicki was going to be, how did that come into doing your content creation and producing your own work?
Yeah, yeah. I think, well, probably some of it is having ADD, and just not being able to sit still, and not being able to kind of focus on one thing has been a major advantage probably in some senses for me because
Yeah.
I'm always working on multiple things, at the same time. And and being a little person actor, starting professionally in 2001, but even before, as a kid, I wasn't getting the roles really. So I was like, there were roles only about me being a little person, some of which were still really cool opportunities, but they were few and far between. And so I was like, look, I gotta produce on my own, make as many things as I can. And that really is something that I kind of was doing even as a kid with it was sports. I would put together a football game on our street and invite people to come together and play and sort of organize this game. So that was something I was, uh, I guess, good at, or at least open to trying to put together. And I sort of merged that right into making my own content. And then I was like, oh, I don't have to just wait once a year. I can just always be working on something new, even if I don't have an editor yet or don't have anything. And then some of that came to be where I figured out a structure where if I was very specific about when I wanted to do a project and what the ask is. Because I think deadlines are actually the most important thing for artists. Not only saying I want to do stand-up comedy or I want to be an actor or I want to make a film, but setting a date when you are going to do it and then holding yourself accountable for it. And, if something happens, you got a family thing or you got, it doesn't matter, you can move it, but it does help when you figure out sort of deadlines on when you want to do this when you want it done by. That's the toughest part, though. The done by is the hard part because
Post production,
post-production is not easy.
win the bottom every time. So with all of your personal creations and all of your content, how did that morph into getting all the rest of us to do it with the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge?
Yeah, so really my origin to the disability community was Little People of America. I would go to conventions and I would start playing sports, and then I made all these friends, and then even in the acting world, I made friends with so many little people actors because the roles that I was getting or auditions were amongst and working with and or competing against other little people actors, some
Right.
of which have become my best friends. And, I would always, throughout this, be doing my own projects. And believe it or not, there was no even a MySpace when I started doing this. There was nothing. And then
Oh,
there was MySpace, and then there was Facebook. And I would always be posting little trailers uh, of what I was doing, a new TV show, a new web series, a new movie, and I would shoot a little trailer. And my friends that have been acting for a long time are like, "How does it look like you always have a new TV show out or a new movie? There's no auditions. Like, what do you like? Where is this coming from?" And I would tell them what I did. I'm doing this all over the course of a weekend. I'd be a very specific ask. I only need you for one day. I find a high quality, camera person and an editor. I say I only need, one day. I don't either have money at all to pay you or a limited amount, but I promise I will work hard to get you paid on another job. And that actually did work for a lot of people that I worked with because I hear about somebody else looking for somebody, or somebody sees something that I did and they go, "Oh, that was cool." I go, "Well, you should hire this editor or this camera guy." So that was always my system of just making my own content. And it led to me, being in a lot of TV shows because now I had a demo reel of high quality content that showcased me in different areas. So me as a gangster, me as a love interest, me as the friend, or being funny, this range beyond the roles that I was getting through traditional acting with an agent. And so my friends like, "How are you doing this?" And a lot of people, I was in the SAG-AFTRA Performers with Disabilities Committee, met friends there. Um, and so 13 years ago, I was like, why aren't more people with disabilities doing this? So I created the Disability Film Challenge. And honestly, I thought it was going to be a one-off competition to help the friends that I know and that I knew at that time make a film. But right away, even though we only had like 5 films that first year, and it was only a weekend challenge, people were like, "When's the next one?" And then casting directors are reaching out, like, "How can I get this wheelchair user, or that actress that has autism, or this guy who has Down syndrome?" And so I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" And then year two, Peter Farley, Farley brothers, like came on board as mentors. It grew more and more. And then in 2017, I partnered with Easterseals Southern California. Easterseals is the nation's largest disability services organization. And that was a huge boost. And, we are now the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge and sponsored by studios and networks. And it's just grown year after year. This year we had 123 films from around the world. To date, 850 films. And, so we're talking about 1,000 plus people that have taken part in the, no, more than 1,000. I mean, 850 films. So I don't even know how many people,
people.
but a
Yeah.
lot.
I know our team last year for flagged was, I think, 14 of just cast and crew.
Yeah,
Like 95% of us were neurodivergent. So,
that's awesome. I love that.
oh, it was so much fun. And you talked a little bit about the connections and especially Peter Farley, who is just such a wonderful supporter. And I've
He really is.
I got to meet him at 2024's award ceremony, and I didn't embarrass myself. I was fangirling so hard, but I kept it professional.
Ah,
And
he's such a great guy. You can always do anything. He's really one of the best people I've ever met. Kindest and most talented. I've got to work with him too, and
right.
he's an incredible guy.
And something I've noticed within the industry overall, we have this phenomena of we work on projects, especially if you're doing a big film or you're a series regular, and those project cast and crews kind of become like a family. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
gets really close, but then the project ends and we all tend to go a million different ways and we never see each other again. Within the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge, it's totally opposite.
No.
We all stick together. We all see the same people. And when I went to the award ceremony in 2024, I think I got more hugs in one night than I
Hmm.
had in the whole previous month, because there was Daniel and Eileen and Toby and Danny and everyone who tends to participate. It's like we kind of absorb your connection magic.
Hmm.
I'm not sure how that happens.
It really, first of all, this is like one of the best things I've heard in a long time. That makes me so happy about that you felt so welcome in. It really is. It's like a family. I consider the disability community a family.
Yes.
So many different people. We're all together. We all have different disabilities. We all have different versions, and some of our disabilities intersect, and we have different things. But I think that what's so cool is our communal energy, and that we are all in this together. So with the film challenge, it is a competition. You are competing to get mentor meetings with executives and really life-changing meetings and screenings at Academy Award qualifying festivals and grants and computers and all these other things. So there is one element where it is a competition, but at the same time, I have seen so much the support, everybody sharing each other's films, commenting on each other's films. People that were in different films one year, they join on the same film together, or will help somebody that doesn't have a camera or a editor or somebody else. And I think that that's what uh, I'm most proud of, is that it is a community. We do year-round workshops, but I always see people getting together and hanging out in different cities, and that just makes me feel like so good. I've always felt that way. When I see another little person or somebody else with a disability, I have like a connection to that person, and it just like always made me feel good to be around community.
Yes. And Karen, if you can make sure the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge website is up in the chat, there's so many really, really great films. And every year the genre changes.
That's
Uh,
right.
this last year was thriller. Buddy comedy was a hilarious year. And leading up to all of the films getting put up on YouTube for the general public to see, for everyone to vote on, figure out which one's their favorite, Nic actually does a whole series of promo videos that are hilarious.
Thank
Or the thriller one was actually a little bit, oh, what are we getting into here? And so those promo videos actually become inspiration for the 5 days that we're pulling everything together.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we try to do ways that we could encourage ideas, and although the challenge is tough that it's 5 days, I also think that there's something good and important about that because it gives you the timeline and the deadline to think creatively and to just do sort of like I gotta write, and whatever I write, that's what it is, and let's film it, and we have to edit it. And a completed project that could always be, you could always be working on the same project for a year, and I'm sure that it could be great, and in some senses, when you have all of the time in the world, it allows for more color correction and sound and things like that. But at the same token, you have the ability to do that after the challenge cycle.
Mhm.
And a lot of times I've heard from people that their projects actually didn't change that much because they were like, just like, they're like, I can't believe we finished it. So with the promos, I want to give ideas and we give examples of other film types that could be within this genre when we email out the assignment. But on a fun token with the promos, I also just like to have fun, and and do fun things and promos and silly and interesting and to be creative with it. We have a team of people and I believe let's use everything we have. When we have a resource or if we can get access to a space, let's use that for a promo. If we could do a comedy show in a castle, let's do a comedy show in a castle.
Every place in the world can be turned into a film set.
Yes.
And the possibilities are endless. Within the film challenge, though, you have to get that laser focused. And what a lot of people don't realize is, like you said, after the challenge, then you can go in and do more fine tuning. A lot of these films go into the film festival circuit, but the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge also gets those films into Oscar qualifying short film festivals. Did I say that right?
Yes, yes. So
Yes.
the finalists will screen at Academy Award qualifying festivals, as will the winners. However, beyond those screenings that go to the finalists and the winners, we share opportunities, in some senses, promo codes as well to all alumni for people to submit their films. We've had certain films that, for whatever reason, weren't named as finalists. They just, I'm not a judge. We have a whole team of judges.
Yes.
But some of those projects have gone on to screen at hundreds of festivals and had the biggest success stories we've ever had. So I always say that too, because I think there's a lot of pressure. I need to be a finalist. I need to be a winner. I've never won an award in anything, honestly. I'm just always, I think it's just more about putting yourself out there, doing things, and you never know. I mean, everything is subjective, but what is not subjective is when you do a great project, you did it, and you own that. And everybody owns their own films and can submit anywhere.
Right. And we talk a lot about film festivals being the one really kind of sure avenue to getting your talent noticed. That's
Hmm.
where producers are looking for new talent. That's where casting directors are looking for people that make those really interesting decisions and come up with those good ideas. So, doing a film challenge like this really opens doors. We get to make those connections. We're all going to siphon off a little bit of Nick's magic because he'll make more. And we talked just a little bit about the prizes, the equipment, cameras, grants. I know Call the ADA, which was one of the 2024 winners, is now turning into a series.
That's right.
And they are filming, you can follow them on social media. They had one location that Daniel, the writer and director, couldn't get into, and they needed ramps. And the Facebook community came together. I think they ended up with like 3 or 4 sets of ramps, just kind of showed up on set so they could film. And that's what's special about this challenge is the connections, the way we stay connected, the support. And that's Nic. That's what he brings, which is awesome.
Thank
Um,
you. Well, I think it's really more what you bring and what other people bring. I think collective, we as a community just, have so much to offer each other. And, I can't really take the credit. I mean, there's just so many people in this community just doing great work and even more importantly, supporting each other.
and that's what we're all about. Ryan, do we have questions from the chat? I want to make sure that we have.
Yes, yes, we
Okay.
do. We have one question for you, Nic, and they ask, how did your dyslexia play into your acting?
The dyslexia, I've never formally been. I've had some people say that we believe you are dyslexic. So like but as I'm reading things, it is something because I will be reading and words appear that aren't there. I miss things. So I have to memorize basically. Um, I beyond that have really bad vision beyond. So whenever I'm reading stuff, I'm either reading things backwards or looking at stuff or words appear. So I find myself having to be off book or memorize or a version because I can't look down and clearly on a first or a couple reads be able to read something. So I think it made me, really have to, study harder in some senses.
Thank you. And also, just a reminder for everyone here, you can always, at any time, drop chest questions into the chat, and we can answer them. And we have another question in the chat saying, you mentioned your ADD. Has that been an issue with any of the acting or directing?
Um, the ADD, as I said, I believe that ADD has helped me. I don't think it would be possible for me to do the amount of different things I've done in my life if I did not have ADD because I'm able to, you know, focus on too many things at the same time.
In my
Or unfocus and start to do something new. But I think that has allowed me to do a lot of different things. And then I think, uh, being a part of, you know, having that has just been something that I've just known this is who I am, just like me being a little person. So it's just the only way I know how to be. So I haven't had any issue that I know of, but I've never seen it as an issue. So even if it could be perceived as one, I've never looked at it like, hey, this is, uh, the reason why I didn't get something.
Hmm.
I think, at times I have to work longer, and things take me more time.
And that's really the disability community in general. Most everyone knows I served in the Marine Corps, and one of the big tenets in the Marine Corps is improvise, adapt, and overcome. When I left the Marine Corps, I figured, okay, that's done. I'm through with that. And then I discovered the disability community. And if you want to talk about people who improvise, adapt, and overcome, we're pros at it.
Hmm.
And it's not a big deal. You know, Nic is living proof that you find ways to get through it, you find ways to make it work. And whether you want to call it a coping skill or a living skill, whatever kind of label you want to put on it, it's going to help you be successful.
Hmm.
And
I believe that self-identifying too is being okay with too, and everyone's on their own journey with sharing about themselves. But I believe that there is power in that, as a community. And I not that this is just a tangent that I'm going on, but I've been lucky to have done comedy on a bunch of U.S. Tours for the troops overseas. So I've gotten to plans to be all over the world, really, in the Middle East and Africa and Europe, and I think that what's interesting, I just thought of, but the military, it has a lot of what I'm talking about too in terms of community and this camaraderie and being together and is working together as a core and a unit and hey, let's all go here together, or let's all go get something to eat. And I think that that's like there's similarities to the community and to the disability community, or even growing up with Little People of America. Like I love that kind of thing of like the camaraderie and the almost family, kind of bond that is there.
absolutely, it's one of the reasons that so many veterans like to transition into the entertainment industry, because we are a team, we are working together. You know, finishing this project becomes a new mission. And
Hmm.
that freaking rocks. We know how to accomplish missions. That
That's right. That's right.
so I just thought another question I want to ask, because you've done the USO tours. Now you're opening for Nate, which is just seeing you on these huge arena little stages is just so cool. If you could go back and tell your junior high self, something to kind of encourage yourself through, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean that's the one time in my life where junior high was, I would say, the toughest phase of my life, because everybody shot up so much taller than me. I had already had a set of surgeries and a body cast, and I knew that was going to happen again. Plus puberty, plus everyone's getting tall, and I can't play sports, and so
Yeah.
that was kind of a tough period for me. I think it's just, having a perspective of there's always going to be another great thing coming, or other opportunity, or other phase of your life. And I think even if I look at my entertainment career, which is now, 25 years almost, it is 25 years actually. Of like, working in kind of a professional space, the lows are actually the times where you're, the booker's not going to pay you, the show canceled, you're stuck on a train with this other comic, and you didn't
Oh,
have a good set. Those experiences as you're coming up are priceless. They are sort of what motivates you in the future. And I think everybody wants to go right to the top, but I think, starting out and having those moments where stuff doesn't go right, or you're meeting somebody that you come up with. You mentioned Nate Bargatze, who I tour with, who's now the #1 comedian in the world. Well, we lived in a living room together, in New York. So we had no money. We were just the two young comics in a living room of an apartment. Um,
oh man.
so it's like, he wasn't, Nate Bargatze. He was just my friend Nate that we would play video games at 4 in the morning. So I think like I think that there's always, you want to go right to Martin Scorsese, but you never know who the next, Martin Scorsese is, or yourself, or just even the journey of starting and having your own community, your own friends that are at your same level, because everybody who's an actor, or you're an editor, or you're a camera person, there's somebody at your same level, and there's somebody who is where you are, and there's something beautiful, I think, about coming up together and having bad experiences. I've bombed auditions so bad. I've had like people that are like, "Oh, you're great for this." Like I knew the producers, or I knew the casting director. I worked on something, And I go in there and you're like, ah, this is gonna go great. And then you just like it doesn't, and you're like, ah. But that's part of
that,
it.
that being human can be really tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ryan, what else do we have in the chat?
We got a lot of good questions for sure in the chat. Next question is that they say it seems like there are a lot of neurodivergent creatives in Hollywood, although many are not openly neurodivergent. Do you think things are starting to change? And also, have you ever felt you were discriminated against?
Uh, I think just as I said earlier, I think it's really important to self-identify yourself, your disability, especially when you are in a position where that helps other people come out and identify themselves or feel like, hey, if they're, you know, uh, have a disability or they say they do, or they're, this person saying I'm on the spectrum, or, that's awesome because that allows other people to feel like, well, maybe I can say that. Have I ever been discriminated against? I'm somewhat maybe naive. I try to only focus on where I can ultimately succeed or just live my life. I try not to focus on elements. I think if I were to, I'm sure that I would be able to find out moments where I was in a situation that, for a variety of different reasons, I may not have had the best experience. But I try to always look at it like, hey, uh, this is what I can do in life, or this is how what can I do to achieve this goal? Because I feel like when I leave things up to other people, it's like the lottery if I get something, through the traditional way. So that's kind of been my experience.
Well, and it seems like you can avoid getting bogged down by, I mean, all of us can jump into that negative,
Hmm.
but if you're someone who's always focused on the negative, you're not going to be a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah.
I tell you, Nic is a lot of fun to be around.
Thank you.
So, with
You
keep up
too.
good attitudes.
You too. And I think that's hard too. I gotta say, as an artist, it also is it's something too of noticing, your surroundings or other people. But there are times that, I've been frustrated and been like, what, this is crazy too. Like, why can't we, I thought I was hired for this. So, we're all human. So we all have these experiences. But I think it is important to just, know that, hey, look, there's always another gig or another job or another film or another festival. Because if you put all your eggs in one basket, I mean, it's really hard because you're just putting so much pressure on yourself, first and foremost.
And speaking of like film challenges and stuff, we have one question in chat, and they're asking, what strategies can autistic individuals use to participate in the film challenge with a crew while considering their communication difficulties, executive function challenges, and anxiety around phone calls?
Hmm. Um, I don't know. I would ask other people too, that have that lived experience, that are um that may be able to answer that. But what I would say is, one idea could be to really write out sort of a timeline for yourself, sort of send an email, work on emails. I believe that email drafts are incredible when you have stuff ready to go. Like I am gonna go and here's what we're gonna need tomorrow. Here's what I need from you. Here's what I'm going to need from everybody on Sunday. We're approaching the deadline. If you put together a list of emails, of assignments, or here's what we are gonna need to do. I think that's gonna help anybody because again, the more you can organize and the more you can also divert some of the tasks to other people, the more you're in a position where I think that that's going to be a successful opportunity. And the other thing about that too is, hey, partner up with somebody too on your film that, you know, knows how to do things that are not elements that you like to do. So for me, as a little person, I'm going to need somebody big if we're doing something together, yard work. All right. Somebody's hitting the top of the tree. I'm going to stay down low. All right.
Nick is not the one to set up lighting for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to, you know, spot you at the bottom or you know, make jokes, but I'm not putting the, you know, I'm not throwing the angel at the top of the tree.
And what we did last year with Flagged, because we had so many neurodivergent people working together, our director was really clear about who was doing what job. And so we had a couple of Zoom calls before we actually filmed, before we actually knew what exactly we were going to film.
Hmm.
We brought that team together. So we had two production assistants. We knew that several of the actors were going to help dress the set. And so when we did finally come together and were ready to start filming on day 2 of the challenge, we knew what we were doing. And we had fidgets. We'd already set up a little quiet area where if someone needed a break, they could get away, go put their headsets on, turn their back to the room, and just decompress a bit. And then when they were ready, we could get back to it. And that made it a lot more comfortable because it was no big deal.
Hmm.
Everybody's working together. Everyone's saying, this is what you need. Okay, we can do it. Uh, I had cookies for dinner, and everybody was fine with that.
Yeah.
When Gwen wants cookies tonight, okay. Jake wanted salad. Production made sure that we had both available, and we all
Yeah.
pitched in. And that's where it really comes together is you get that team, but you have to communicate,
Hmm.
have to talk to each other, and you have to find the strength within yourself to say, hey, I need a quiet space,
Hmm.
and know that your team is going to understand that and help you find it.
And I think that you bring something up that's really important. One, I think regardless of disability, this communication and openness on set is something that leads to success. And I think figuring out what you need, your accommodations. For me, I can't stand that long, so I'll sit even on an Apple box. Doesn't have to be a big, you know, fancy set. I always say the vast majority of accommodations don't require more money, they require more planning. So a lot of times we have all these tools that are there. We just have to think about ahead. So if you have certain accommodations you need, I think the best thing to do is to be able to pre-write out what makes you help you be on set, you know, even ahead of time for yourself. And you could have that in a draft of an email so when it's the right time, you could say, "Hey, I'm so excited to, you know, act in this film. Just to let you know, I may need a minute. So if we could plan that in, or I need, you know, whatever you need. If you have that ready to go, you could use that in different things. I copy and paste a lot for things that I need, or you know, they're ready to go because it takes me a while to send stuff, or I have arthritis, I have all these other things. So I think if you have something ready to go in your drafts of something you need, hey, how can we find shoes that fit you as a little person? Well, I could go into my, you know, email drafts and, you know, you talk about all the accommodations of things that would help me.
What a great idea. I love that. I have not been using that folder nearly enough. Oh, where are we at? We've got a few more minutes. Ryan, are there other good questions?
Yeah, you actually answered one of the other questions that was in the chat.
See, I
Um,
told you he was good.
yeah. Here's a good question. Do you have a favorite film that you can recall over the years that has just stood out?
For the film challenge, man, it's tough because there's just so many great films. I can't. I'm going to be very political here. I just love all the films. I truly, you know, it's just incredible. It feels like Christmas every year when I get to see all these new films that come out into the world and know that they have their own lifespan. We certainly have had a lot of films that have had a ton of success stories, so that also has been really exciting. Um, you know, it's just hard to say because also that's why beyond me not being able to be a judge because I know too many people, I'm really bad at like being like I don't like this. I like everything just in general. I'm a bad critic.
So, really quick on that note, um, the films that are submitted are judged. Can you tell us a little bit about what the judges are looking for?
Sure. So we do have a subset of incredible judges that include people with and without disabilities that are actors, executives, casting directors, production executives. We have journalists, we have directors, writers that are judges. So all these incredible judges. And they will judge based on the category too. So if it's acting, then they're just judging based on acting, or if it's editing, based on editing, writing based on writing. But for certain things, it also is about the execution of the assignment and production quality and storytelling. But you know, it's a tough job. I'm glad I'm not a judge because there's just so many great films. But I have to say too that everything is subjective because, they always said too, Eminem, he didn't win that, battle, but yet also he's like one of the most famous rappers of all time. And it just goes on and on about people that did not win contests and how much they've gone on to succeed. So, at the end of the day, there will always be a great project and a great film that for whatever reason is not named a finalist or is not named the winner. And you know what? That same film could have such an incredible lifespan on its own, and many of them do.
And it's really exciting. As I have mentioned before, you can go on to the website, and there's also Easterseals Disability Film Challenge YouTube page, and you can watch all of these creative, original ideas. Um, Disability does not have to be shown in the story idea. A lot of people do. Some people totally ignore it. It can be kind of a side note. All that is actually required is one person with a disability, either in front of or behind the camera. A lot of teams will do whole disabled crews and casts that are totally disabled. You make it work, you work with what you have. We are hoping that the Neurodivergent Creatives Collective can at least put together one team.
That would be incredible.
I'm
Yes.
I'm kind of pushing for two, but we'll see. I I think we can at least do one, and watch your emails because those will be coming out to sign up as we start putting teams together.
Yeah, we've already launched the dates. So the dates this year are March 24th to 29th. You need to register before March 23rd. Um, here's a little secret. You can pre-register starting January 1st, but our regular registration opens when we announce the genre on Saturday, January 24th.
Ooh,
But
see,
you pre-register at the cheapest rate.
I'm on it. I already had January 24th marked on my calendar, but all right, start the new year and register. Um, oh my word.
Just want to add one thing
Yes.
that if the team that ends up coming together for the collective is in the Portland, Oregon, or Vancouver, Washington metro area. Autism Empowerment actually owns some film equipment that we purchased for the short film that I worked on with the grant funds that we received from the city of Vancouver. It's not great. We have like a Canon T7. It's like a $500 camera and some lights and a sound recorder and a boom mic. But
That sounds
you know,
good to me.
but yeah, it
That's what you
works.
need. That's a great yeah.
Yeah, it works. So, so if you're interested, but you don't have equipment, we have this equipment available to lend out for the team to use. So just, be aware of that. So,
And
Awesome.
Brian is now an experienced director, so we can tag him for that
ah,
also.
Yes.
So Brian put out a series pilot for a series called Hold My Beer about a young man who is neurodivergent who discovers brewing beer because this
Yeah.
area is all about brewing beer and how he's learning about it and working with his family interactions. And it has got awesome possibilities. And I think there's either 2 or 3 seasons written out. Which is it, Brian?
yeah, I wrote the story arcs for 3 seasons, if it ever gets to that point. So,
We'll keep working on it.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Okay. Any more last minute questions, Ryan?
It doesn't. Okay. Well, one more question. What are some of the biggest challenges that you find teams with the challenge? Teams that do the challenge. What challenges do they find themselves in?
Oh,
Yeah, I think it's the same challenge that all filmmakers have is putting the teams together and making sure you're able to produce the project because I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy to make a film, whether it's for the challenge or whether it's just making a film on your own. So I think a lot of times we've seen that people have had challenges securing equipment or key crew positions like a director, photographer, or an editor where I've seen people overcome those challenges, which is kind of a running theme of what we talked about a lot, is planning ahead and putting those asks out. And you got Brian here who just literally threw out there. He's got the equipment for you. He's throwing that ask out there. So how many people are out there that have that same openness? I bet you would be surprised how many people, if you figure out how to share, hey, this is the dates that I'm going to need this. This is what we need, and figure out your personal pitch. That is the other thing that I think has helped me get a lot of opportunities is writing that same. And again, this is where the copy and paste, figuring out what is your pitch. Like, hey, I'm a little person. I've always wanted to do this project, and then fill in the blank why. Here's what we have. Here's what I could really use help getting a location, or it's a camera person.
well,
Yeah.
we wanted to tell you thank you so much for taking the time. Please thank your family for us because, yeah, we're stealing tree decorating time or something.
Thank you. And it means so much, being here and talking with you all. And you mean so much. I think you're just so talented and such a great person. And I really appreciate you and all of you guys. And I can't wait to see a film. And again, I'm not a judge, so anything.
Well, thank you so much.
Gwen, can you also mention that Nick is going to be interviewed in the spring or in the winter issue of Spectrum Life magazine, and so if you get the magazine, look forward to that article as well.
Yes, Nick filled out lots of questions. He and Karen have put together an amazing interview for you that will cover a lot of things that we did not cover today. And Nick sent us pictures and
Yes.
awesome.
And thank you
So
so much. I'm excited about that and appreciate being a part of this. And yeah, Thank you all so much and have a great rest of your weekend, everybody.
You
Happy
too.
holidays.
Thank you. You too. This was wonderful. Thanks.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.